The darkness of space stretched endlessly in all directions. In this forgotten corner of the galaxy, nothing had moved for centuries. The Crevathian Empire had marked this sector as empty wasteland, not worth the fuel to patrol regularly. But today, something changed. Commander Vexther sat in his command chair aboard the Imperial cruiser, bored beyond measure. He had drawn patrol duty in the Outer Rim, the worst assignment in the fleet. Nothing ever happened here. His crew of 200 aliens moved through their duties with the same tired routine they had followed for months. Check sensors. Report nothing. Move to the next coordinate. Repeat dot, and the alarm screamed to life. Vexther jumped from his chair, his 4 eyes widening. The sensor display showed something impossible. A spatial tier was forming directly ahead of them, the kind that appeared when ships traveled faster than light. But the signature was wrong. It was not Crevathian technology. It was not like anything in the Empire's databases. The tier ripped open, and a ship emerged. Vexther stared at the vessel on his screen. It was smaller than his cruiser, but sleek and strange. Its hull was dark gray with glowing blue lines running along its surface. The design was efficient, purposeful, nothing like the decorative bulk of Imperial ships. This was a machine built for function, not intimidation. Inside the human warship Indomitable, Captain Tae-Min Kim rubbed his tired eyes. 3 months of faster-than-light travel had exhausted his crew of 300. They had left Earth's colonial space to explore this region, hoping to find new worlds, or perhaps even new friends among the stars. Tae-Min was a career officer, 40 years old, with calm eyes and steady hands. He had commanded the Indomitable for 5 years, without ever firing a weapon in anger. "Captain, we have company," said G1 Park from the communication station. She was young, only 26, with quick fingers and a talent for languages. One vessel, about 800 meters long. Design is unfamiliar. They are definitely not human. Tae-Min felt his heart beat faster. First contact. This was the moment humanity had dreamed of for centuries. Send a greeting in all Earth languages. Let them know we come in peace. G1 worked her console, broadcasting messages in English, Korean, Mandarin, Spanish, and 20 other languages. She included mathematical proofs and star charts showing Earth's location. Everything the diplomatic protocols required. Aboard the Imperial cruiser, Vexther listened to the strange sounds. His translator struggled with the alien words. The delay made him suspicious. In his experience, species either surrendered immediately or attacked. These aliens were doing neither. That meant they were planning something. "They mock us with their silence," Vexther said to his weapons officer. "Fire a warning shot across their bow. Show them the power of the Empire." The cruiser's plasma cannon charged and fired. A bolt of superheated gas crossed the space between the ships in seconds. It was a standard warning shot, powerful enough to disable most vessels' shields and send a clear message. The plasma hit the Indomitable's shields and simply vanished, absorbed without effort. The human ship barely registered the impact. Tae-Min looked at the weapons display in confusion. Was that supposed to be an attack? "Sensors show it was a plasma bolt, sir," said So-Jin Choi from Tactical. She was 32, a veteran officer with sharp instincts. Their technology appears to be fusion-based. We stopped using fusion weapons 400 years ago. Maybe it was a greeting? Suggested Hyen-Woo Lee from the science station. He was the ship's optimist, always looking for peaceful explanations. Some cultures express themselves through demonstrations of power. Tae-Min wanted to believe that, but 3 more ships suddenly appeared on sensors, surrounding the Indomitable. They were taking up attack positions. "Captain, they are preparing to fire again," So-Jin said, her voice tense. "And they are launching small craft. Boarding pods, I think." Tae-min felt the weight of command settle on his shoulders. He had hoped to make friends today. Instead, he might have to fight. All hands, battle stations. Shields to maximum. Do not fire unless I give the order. The Indomitable's crew moved with practiced speed. Dong Hyeon Nam, the chief engineer, redirected power to defensive systems. Yu Jin Song and navigation calculated escape routes. Jae Soon Oh, the first officer, coordinated damage control teams. They were ready. Vexther watched his boarding pods launch toward the alien ship. This would be simple. His warriors would breach the hull, capture the crew, and the Empire would gain a new slave species. It was how things had always worked. Then the alien ship moved. Point defense turrets appeared on the Indomitable's hull, dozens of them. They tracked the incoming boarding pods with perfect accuracy. Railguns fired, accelerating small projectiles to incredible speeds. The pods exploded one by one, destroyed before they could cross half the distance. Vexther's mouth fell open. No species had point defense that good. It was impossible. Return fire. He screamed. All weapons. The Imperial cruisers opened up with everything they had. Plasma bolts, fusion missiles, and particle beams filled the space between the ships. It was enough firepower to destroy a small moon. Tae-min watched the incoming fire on his display. So Jin, can we take it? Shields are at 97%, sir. Their weapons cannot penetrate our defenses. Then show them ours. Target their weapon systems only. I do not want to kill anyone if we can avoid it. Sojin smiled grimly. Understood, Captain. The Indomitable returned fire with precision that seemed almost surgical. Railgun rounds, moving at a fraction of light speed, struck the Imperial cruiser's weapon arrays. Missiles with smart guidance systems wove through defensive fire to impact shield generators. Every shot hit exactly where it was meant to hit. In 30 seconds. 2 Imperial cruisers were crippled, floating dead in space. The third had lost most of its weapons. Vexther's own ship was barely functioning. The commander sat in his damaged chair, surrounded by smoke and sparks. His crew was screaming reports of casualties and system failures. He could not understand what had happened. The Empire had ruled the galaxy for 3,000 years. They had conquered thousands of species. They had never lost. With shaking hands, Vexther activated the emergency beacon. He sent a message that would change the galaxy forever. Unknown hostile force engaged at Outer Rim Sector 7. Technology level undefined. Request immediate reinforcement. All available ships. Aboard the Indomitable, Tae-min stared at the damaged alien vessels. He felt no joy in the victory. G1 tried to contact them again. Tell them we do not want war. But it was too late. The aliens were already retreating into faster-than-light travel, running to report what they had found. Tae-min knew with cold certainty that more would come. Many more. Hyeon-woo, analyze everything we just learned about them. So Jin, damage report. Dong Hyeon, I need engines ready for emergency jump. Yu Jin, plot a course back to human space. Sir, G1 said quietly, I am receiving long-range communications from their direction. Multiple transmissions, all encrypted. I think they are calling for help. Tae-min nodded slowly. He had come looking for friends and found enemies instead. Now he had to keep his crew alive, long enough to warn Earth what was coming. Somewhere out there was an empire that thought it owned the galaxy. And humanity had just announced its presence in the worst possible way. The Indomitable turned toward home, leaving the wreckage behind. But Tae-min knew this was only the beginning. War was coming, whether he wanted it or not. The message from Commander Vexther traveled across the galaxy at faster-than-light speed. It reached the Crevathian throne world in less than a day. The planet was massive, 3 times the size of Earth, covered in towering cities of black stone and gold. This was the heart of an empire that had never known defeat. High Admiral Corvish read the report in his war room. He was ancient by Crevathian standards, nearly 400 years old. His scales were dark blue, marked with scars from 1,000 battles. He had conquered more worlds than he could remember. The report made him laugh. Undefined technology? 1 ship defeating 3 cruisers? Corvish threw the datapad across the room. Vexler is a coward. He probably ran from merchants who fired back. His subordinates said nothing. They knew better than to argue with the High Admiral. Corvish had executed officers for less. Send Battle Group Theta to investigate, Corvish ordered. 50 ships should be enough to handle whatever Vexler found. Tell the commander to bring me prisoners. I want to see these supposed warriors myself. Battle Group Theta prepared to depart within hours. 50 warships, each larger than the Indomitable, carrying enough firepower to sterilize a planet. Their commander was confident. The mission was simple. Find the aliens. Destroy them. Return home as heroes. Far away, the Indomitable was limping through space. Captain Tae-min stood on the bridge, looking tired. They had been running for 2 days with minimal rest. The ship had taken no serious damage, but his crew was exhausted. Captain, I have something, said Hyan Wu from the science station. He had been analyzing the data from their battle. The aliens use very old technology. Plasma weapons, fusion reactors, basic shield systems. We are at least 500 years ahead of them in every way. That does not make sense, Tae-min said. They control this entire region of space. How did they build an empire with outdated technology? Maybe they never needed to improve, suggested Jae Sung, the first officer. If they never met anyone who could fight back, why would they innovate? That thought troubled Tae-min. An empire that had never faced a real challenge would not know how to handle defeat. They would not negotiate or retreat. They would keep coming until they won or died trying. How long until we reached the nearest human colony? Tae-min asked Yu-jin at navigation. 14 days at our current speed, sir. But I am detecting something on long-range sensors. Multiple ships heading in our direction. At least 40, maybe more. Tae-min felt his stomach tighten. Can we outrun them? Yu-jin checked her calculations. Not for 14 days. They will catch us in about 6 days. The bridge fell silent. Everyone knew what that meant. They would have to fight again, but this time against overwhelming numbers. Dong Hyan, Tae-min said into the communication system. I need every bit of speed you can give me. In the engine room, Chief Engineer Dong Hyan Nam wiped sweat from his face. He was 50 years old, with more experience than anyone else on the ship. Captain, I am already pushing the engines past their safety limits. If I go any faster, we risk a reactor breach. Do what you can. We have 6 days. For those 6 days, the Indomitable ran. The crew worked in shifts, trying to maintain readiness while getting what little rest they could. So Jin ran combat drills. Hyan Wu analyzed their enemy's tactics. Ji-1 practiced her communications, hoping they might still find a peaceful solution. Everyone knew it was unlikely. On the 6th day, the Imperial fleet caught them near a binary star system. 2 massive suns orbited each other, surrounded by asteroid fields and radiation storms. It was a terrible place for a battle. High Admiral Corvish himself commanded the Imperial flagship. When the report about the alien ship reached him mid-journey, he had decided to come personally. No primitive species would embarrass the Empire twice. There, Corvish pointed at the display showing the Indomitable. 1 small ship, and Vexler claimed it was dangerous. He laughed at his officers. Surround it, I want this over quickly. 50 Imperial warships spread out in a standard formation. They had done this 1,000 times before. It never failed. Aboard the Indomitable, Taemin studied the enemy positions. They are using a predictable pattern. They always spread out the same way. They probably never needed to do anything else, Sojin said. Most species would surrender when they saw this many ships. We are not most species. Sojin, show me their weaknesses. Sojin worked her console, highlighting vulnerable points on each Imperial ship. They cluster their weapons on the forward hull. Poor coverage on the sides and rear. Their shields are strong, but slow to recharge. If we keep moving, we can hit them before they can return fire effectively. Taemin made his decision. All hands battle stations. Donghayan, I need every bit of power in the weapons and engines. Eugene, plot an evasive course through the asteroid field. Sojin, weapons free. Target their engines and weapon systems. I still do not want to kill anyone unless we have no choice. The Indomitable accelerated toward the Imperial fleet at a speed that shocked the Kravathians. Human ships were built for speed and maneuverability. The Empire's ships were built for raw power and intimidation. It made all the difference. The battle began. The Indomitable dove into the asteroid field, using the rocks for cover. Imperial plasma bolts struck asteroids instead of their target. The human ship's point defense systems shot down incoming missiles with perfect accuracy. And then the Indomitable started shooting back. Railgun rounds crossed the distance in seconds. Each shot was aimed with computer-assisted precision at critical systems. Engine blocks shattered. Weapon arrays exploded. Shield generators overloaded. The Imperial ships, designed to fight enemies who stood still and traded blows, had no answer for an opponent who refused to stay in one place. Impossible. Corvish screamed as he watched his fleet fall apart. How can one ship do this? His tactical officer had no answer. In 20 minutes, 37 Imperial warships were crippled or destroyed. The rest were trying to retreat, but the human ship was faster. Tae-Min felt no joy in the destruction. Every Imperial ship he disabled meant alien lives lost. But he could not let them chase his ship all the way to Earth. He had to send a message. Captain, the enemy flagship is trying to escape, Sojin reported. Let them go, Taemin said. Let them report what happened. Maybe next time they will think twice before attacking. The surviving Imperial ships jumped into faster-than-light travel, running for their lives. The space around the binary stars was filled with debris and disabled vessels. The Indomitable had won again, with only minor damage, but Taemin knew the cost. He had destroyed dozens of ships. Thousands of aliens were dead or stranded in space. He had started this journey hoping to make friends. Instead, he had become a killer. High Admiral Corvish arrived back at the throne world in disgrace. He had lost more ships in one battle than in his entire career. His report was simple and terrifying. They fight like nothing we have ever seen. Fast, precise, ruthless. Every shot hits. Every tactic works. They knew our formation before we used it. Recommendation: declare this species an existential threat. Mobilize everything. The Kravathian Emperor read the report in his throne room. He was even older than Corvish, nearly 600 years old. He had ruled for 3 centuries without a single defeat. That record would not end now. Mobilize the Grand Armada, the Emperor ordered. Every ship, every warrior. Find their homeworld and burn it. The order went out across the Empire. 2,000 warships began gathering, the largest fleet assembled in 1,000 years. They would crush this human species and remind the galaxy why the Kravathians ruled. Aboard the Indomitable, G1 finally managed to send a message back to Earth using their quantum communication system. It would take weeks for help to arrive, but at least Earth would know what was coming. Tae-Min sat in his quarters, staring at the wall. His crew thought he was a hero. He felt like he had doomed his entire species. Somewhere behind them, an empire was mobilizing for war, and Earth had fewer than 100 warships to defend itself. "Captain," Jae-sung's voice came through the intercom. "Long-range sensors are detecting massive energy signatures from Imperial space. It looks like they are gathering ships. A lot of ships." Tae-Min closed his eyes. He had known this would happen, but the reality still hurt. "How many?" "We cannot get an exact count at this range. At least 2,000. Maybe more. 2,000 ships against Earth's 90 warships." The math was simple and brutal, but Tae-Min had not come this far to give up. "Set course for Earth," he ordered. "Maximum speed. We need to get home and prepare." The Indomitable turned toward human space, racing against time. Behind them, the Empire's armada was coming. The real war was about to begin. The message from Captain Tae-Min reached Earth Defense Command 48 hours before the Indomitable itself. Admiral Chung Min Han read it 3 times, hoping he had misunderstood. He had not. Chung Min was 60 years old, with gray hair and eyes that had seen too much. He had served in Earth's defense fleet for 40 years, mostly guarding against pirates and smugglers. He had never expected to face a real war. Now he had one, and the numbers were impossible. He called an emergency meeting with Earth's leadership. Defense Minister Hai Jin-Kwan arrived within an hour. She was younger than Chung Min, only 45, but she had a reputation for making hard decisions. 2,000 ships? Ji Jin said, reading the report. "We have 89. Even if our technology is better, those numbers are overwhelming." "We could evacuate the frontier colonies," suggested one of the civilian advisors. "Pull everyone back to the core worlds. Make the Empire fight for every planet." "No." Chung Min's voice was firm. "We do not run. We do not abandon our people. Humanity has faced extinction before. We survived because we prepared and we adapted. We will do the same now. What do you have in mind?" Hai Jin asked. Chung Min activated a holographic display. It showed a network of defensive platforms surrounding every human colony. Project Bulwark. We started building it 30 years ago, just in case we ever met someone hostile. Automated defense stations, minefields, sensor networks. Every colony is fortified. Will it be enough? Against 2,000 ships? No, but it will hurt them. And if we can hurt them enough, maybe they will think twice about continuing. While Earth prepared, the Imperial Grand Armada moved slowly through space. Supreme Commander Dralvik led the fleet from his flagship. He was younger than most Imperial commanders, only 200 years old, but he had earned his position through ruthless efficiency. He had never lost a battle. Dralvik studied the limited data they had on the humans. One ship had defeated 50. That suggested advanced technology, but said nothing about their numbers or strategy. He assumed the humans had a small fleet, perhaps a few hundred ships at most. His 2,000 would be more than enough. "We will crush them slowly," Dralvik told his officers. "Take every world one at a time. Show the galaxy what happens to species who defy the Empire." Aboard the Indomitable, now safely back in human space, Captain Tae-Min met with Admiral Chung Min via communication link. Tae-Min looked exhausted but determined. "Sir, I have data on Imperial ship design," Tae-Min said. "My science officer, Hyan Wu, and medical officer, Yoon-mi, analyzed everything we could scan. The Kravathians never developed strong defensive technology. They always won through overwhelming firepower, so they never needed good armor or shields." Chung Min leaned forward. You are saying they have a weakness? Yes, sir. Sir? Their ships are designed to intimidate and destroy, not to survive. If we hit them hard and fast, we can cripple them before they can bring their numbers to bear. What do you recommend? Tae Min pulled up a star chart. We lure them to New Bizan Colony. It is our most heavily fortified world, but it only has 2 million people. If the battle goes badly, we can evacuate them. The planet has hidden defense platforms, minefields, and terrain that favors our tactics. Chong Min studied the plan. It was risky, but all their options were risky. How do we make them commit everything to one battle? We make them think New Bizan is important. Let them intercept communications suggesting it is our military headquarters. The Empire is arrogant. They will believe they can end the war with one decisive strike. Hai-Jin, listening to the conversation, had doubts. This plan requires us to let the enemy deep into our space. If it fails, Earth itself will be vulnerable. If we do not fight them on our terms, we will lose anyway, Tae Min said quietly. At least this way, we have a chance. Chong Min made his decision. Approved. Captain Tae Min, you will coordinate the defense of New Bizan. Take whatever ships you need. Minister Hai-Jin, start the deception operation. Make the Empire believe New Bizan is the key to everything. Over the next 3 weeks, Earth's intelligence services worked to create a believable lie. They sent fake communications about troop movements to New Bizan. They allowed Imperial scouts to intercept supply manifests listing military equipment. They even had government officials mention New Bizan in supposedly secure channels they knew were compromised. The Empire took the bait. Supreme. Commander Dralvik studied the intelligence reports. Every piece of data pointed to New Bizan as the human central military base. Taking it would cripple their ability to fight. He made his decision. 1,200 ships will assault New Bizan, Dralvik announced. The rest will guard our supply lines and prevent human reinforcements. We will crush their military in one battle. The Imperial Armada split. 1,200 warships headed. For New Bizan, the humans had successfully concentrated the enemy's forces exactly where they wanted them. New Bizan was a pleasant, agricultural world with rolling hills and clean oceans. 2 million colonists lived peaceful lives farming and fishing. Now they were being evacuated to underground bunkers while their planet became a battlefield. Tae Min arrived with the Indomitable and 88 other human warships. It was Earth's entire combat fleet. If they lost here, there would be nothing left to defend the homeworld. Is everything ready? Tae Min asked Sojin, who was coordinating with the other ship's tactical officers. Defense platforms are hidden in the asteroid belt. Minefields are active, but passive, so enemy sensors will not detect them until it is too late. All ships are fueled and armed. We are as ready as we can be. Good. Now we wait. They did not have to wait long. The Imperial fleet arrived 3 days later. Supreme Commander Dralvik was confident as his 1,200 ships entered the system. He saw only light orbital defenses and a small civilian population. The humans were making this easy. All ships, prepare to assault the surface installations, Dralvik ordered. We will crush their military base and move on to their homeworld. That was when the trap sprung. The asteroids in the outer system suddenly lit up with weapons fire. Hidden defense platforms activated, revealing themselves only when they opened fire. Hundreds of automated guns and missile launchers poured fire into the Imperial fleet's rear formations dot at the same time. Massive minefields activated throughout the system. Imperial ships moving in standard formation suddenly found themselves surrounded by explosives. Dozens of vessels were crippled in the first 30 seconds. And then the human fleet appeared. 89 ships emerged from where they had been hiding in the shadow of New Bizan's gas giant. They accelerated at speeds the Cravaeans thought impossible, closing the distance before the Imperial ships could react. Te-Min watched his tactical display and felt a cold calm settle over him. All ships engage at will. Target their command vessels first. The Battle of New Bizin had begun. The human fleet fought like nothing the Empire had ever faced. They did not stand still and trade shots. They moved constantly, using New Bizin's gravity well and asteroid fields for cover. Their weapons' fire was precise, targeting specific systems rather than trying to overwhelm shields with raw power. The Imperial fleet tried to respond with their traditional tactics. They formed battle lines and fired massive volleys. But the humans simply avoided the slow-moving plasma bolts and missile swarms. Human point defense shot down what they could not dodge. This is impossible. Dralvik screamed as he watched his battle plan fall apart. They are too fast. How can they move like that? His tactical officer had no answers. The Cravaeans had built their ships for power, not speed. They had never needed to outmaneuver anyone before Sojin coordinated the human attack with brutal efficiency. She had studied Imperial formations for weeks and knew exactly how they would respond to each situation. Captain, the enemy flagship is trying to rally their forces in Sector 7. If we hit them now, their whole formation will collapse. All ships focus fire on the Imperial flagship, Te-Min ordered. 20 human ships concentrated their fire on Dralvik's vessel. Railgun rounds hammered the shields. Missiles with smart targeting systems found weak points in the armor. One found something critical. Hyun Woo had identified a flaw in Imperial design weeks ago. The Cravaeans put their main reactors near the bridge as a show of power and confidence. It made the entire command structure vulnerable. A single railgun round penetrated the flagship's shields, passed through 3 decks, and struck the reactor containment. The explosion was visible from the planet's surface. Supreme, Commander Dralvik died instantly, along with his entire command staff. Without their leader, the Imperial fleet's coordination fell apart. Ships started making independent decisions, breaking formation, trying to retreat or charge forward without support. The humans showed no mercy. They had learned from the Empire's own tactics. Hit hard, hit fast. Give no quarter dot in 3 hours. It was over. Of the 1,200 Imperial ships that attacked New Bizin, fewer than 150 escaped. The rest were destroyed or disabled. The human fleet had lost 12 ships and taken moderate damage to 24 more. Te-Min sat in his command chair, staring at the aftermath on his display. They had won an impossible victory. They had saved New Bizin and dealt a crushing blow to the Empire. But the cost weighed on him. Thousands of alien lives lost. Maybe tens of thousands. Captain, G1 said softly, we are receiving transmissions from the disabled Imperial ships. They are requesting rescue. Te-Min did not hesitate. Send recovery ships. Save who we can. We are not like them. On the Cravaean throne world, the Emperor received news of the disaster. His ancient hands shook as he read the casualty reports. The Grand Armada, assembled with such confidence, had been shattered. Supreme Commander Dralvik was dead. Over 1,000 ships destroyed. His advisors urged him to seek peace, to negotiate, to acknowledge that this species could not be defeated by conventional means. The Emperor refused. If we cannot defeat them with numbers or power, we will use the weapon that has kept the Empire supreme for 3,000 years, he said coldly. Activate the Stellar Purge protocols. His advisors went pale. The Stellar Purge weapons had not been used in centuries. They were ancient devices, placed in orbit around strategic stars throughout the galaxy. Devices that could trigger a supernova, destroying everything in a solar system. My Emperor, one advisor pleaded, those weapons were meant as a last resort. Using them could kill billions. Then the humans will learn the price of defying the Empire, the Emperor said. Activate 12 platforms. Target their colony worlds. If they will not surrender, we will burn their civilization to ash. Earth celebrated the victory at New Bizen for exactly 1 day. Then Intelligence Officer Sang-Woo Yoon intercepted a transmission that changed everything. Sang-Woo was 40 years old, quiet and careful. He had spent 20 years analyzing alien communications for Earth defense. Now he sat in his office, staring at a decoded Imperial message, hoping he had made a mistake. He had not. He brought the message directly to Admiral Chong Min. Sir, the Empire is activating something called Stellar Purge Protocols. Our translation is rough, but it seems to involve weapons near stars. Chong Min read the message, his face going pale. Get me Dr. Yoon Mi Han immediately. And Captain Tae Min. Within an hour, they were in a conference room studying the limited data. Yoon-mi was the indomitable xenobiologist, but she had spent the last months studying every piece of Imperial technology they could capture. She was 38, brilliant, and currently very worried. The references in their communications suggest large structures in stellar orbit, Yoon-mi explained. Based on power signatures we have detected, I believe they are devices designed to destabilize stars, to cause them to go supernova. They can blow up stars? Haijin, the defense minister, looked horrified. That is not a military weapon. That is genocide. It is how they kept their empire stable, Haiyan-Woo added. He had been helping Yoon-mi with the analysis. Any species that rebelled faced the threat of total extinction. Not just defeat, complete destruction of their star system. How many of these weapons exist? Chong Min asked. Unknown. But the message mentioned activating 12 platforms targeting human colonies. 12 stars. 12 human colonies. Billions of lives. The room fell silent as everyone processed the implications. How long do we have? Tae Min asked. The platforms need to charge, Yoon-mi said. Based on the energy patterns, maybe 3 weeks before the first one is ready to fire. After that, one platform could activate every few days. Chong Min looked at his tactical display, showing the 12 threatened stars. They were spread across human space. Defending all of them was impossible. We cannot evacuate billions of people in 3 weeks, Haijin said. Even if we had enough ships, where would they go? Then we destroy the platforms, Tae Min said simply. They will be heavily guarded, Sojin pointed out. She had joined the meeting via communication link from the Indomitable. The Empire knows these weapons are their last chance. They will protect them with everything they have left. Then we send everything we have, Tae Min said. 12 ships. 12 platforms. Simultaneous assault. We hit them all at once, so they cannot reinforce each other. That would spread our fleet dangerously thin, Chong Min said. If even one mission fails, billions die. If we do nothing, everyone dies, Tae Min replied. At least this way we have a chance. The plan was desperate, but they had no better options. Earth's remaining 77 combat-ready ships would be divided into 12 strike groups. Each group would assault one platform. It was a suicide mission, but nobody suggested an alternative. Volunteers were called for. Every single officer and crew member in the fleet stepped forward. Chong Min had to turn people away. The Indomitable would lead the assault on Platform 7, the one closest to Earth. Tae Min's crew refused to let him go alone. Ji Soong told him, "We started this together. We finish it together." The strike groups prepared. Engineers worked around the clock to repair damaged ships. Supply officers loaded every missile and railgun round they had. Medical teams prepared for casualties they knew were coming. In his quarters, Tae Min recorded a message for Earth, just in case. "If you are watching this, it means I did not come back," he said to the camera. "I want you to know that everything we did to protect humanity. Not for glory or power, just survival. If we failed, I am sorry. If we succeeded, remember that peace is always worth fighting for." G1 did the same, recording a message for her family. Sojin wrote letters to friends she had not talked to in years. Dong Hyeon made sure his technical manuals were updated, so someone else could maintain the engines if he did not return. They all prepared for the possibility they would not see home again. 3 weeks later, the 12 strike groups jumped to faster-than-light travel simultaneously. They emerged at their targets within seconds of each other. Platform 7 orbited a red giant star, drawing power from the stellar corona. It was massive, 3 kilometers across, covered in weapons and shields. Around it circled 40 Imperial warships, the largest concentration of defenders around any platform. "They know this one threatens Earth," Sojin said. "They put their best ships here. Then we show them why that was a mistake," Taemin said. "All ships, attack formation. Target the platform's power couplings. Ignore the defenders unless they get in the way." The 6 human ships that made up Strike Group 7 dove toward the platform at maximum speed. The Imperial defenders opened fire immediately, filling space with plasma and missiles. Dong Hyeon sat in engineering, manually redirecting power faster than the automated systems could manage. "Captain, I am pulling power from life support. We have 30 minutes of air left. Then we better finish this in 20 minutes. Taemin replied. The Indomitable and its 5 companion ships wove through enemy fire. Their point defense worked overtime, shooting down missiles and evading plasma bolts. They returned fire at the Imperial warships, not to destroy them, but to keep them busy. "Platform shields are at maximum," Hyun-woo reported. "We cannot penetrate them with conventional weapons." "Then we use unconventional ones," Taemin said. Jae-soon, "Prep the antimatter torpedoes." "Sir, we only have 4. If this does not work, it will work. Fire all 4. Sequential pattern. Target the same shield section." 4 antimatter torpedoes launched. They were humanity's most powerful weapons, capable of destroying entire ships. The Indomitable had been saving them for a critical moment. This was it. The torpedoes hit the platform shields one after another. The first 3 weakened the shields. The 4th punched through. Railgun fire followed immediately, striking the exposed power couplings. Platform 7 shuddered. Its shields collapsed. Its weapons went offline. But it was not destroyed yet. "It is still charging the stellar trigger," Yoonmi reported from the science station. "If we do not stop it in the next 5 minutes, the star will go supernova regardless. All ships, concentrate fire on the platform's core," Taemin ordered. The 6 human ships poured everything they had into Platform 7. The Imperial defenders tried to intervene, but they were too slow. Human ships danced around them, staying focused on the primary target. 4 minutes. 3 minutes. 2 minutes. "Platform core is breaching," Hyun-woo said. "Cascade failure in progress." The massive structure exploded in a flash of light, brighter than the star it orbited. Pieces of debris scattered across the system. Platform 7 was destroyed. "Mission accomplished," Taemin said tiredly. "All ships report status." Of the 6 ships in Strike Group 7, 3 were heavily damaged. 2 had lost crew members. But they had succeeded. Across human space, similar battles raged at the other 11 platforms. Strike Group 3 destroyed their target, but lost 2 ships in the process. Strike Group 9 succeeded, but suffered heavy casualties. Strike Group 5 fought for 3 hours before finally destroying their platform, losing half their ships. When it was over, all 12 platforms were destroyed. But the cost was terrible. Humanity had lost 31 warships. Over 8,000 people were dead. The fleet that had defended Earth was now reduced to 46 ships. The survivors limped home. The Indomitable barely made it back to Earth orbit. Dong Haiyan had kept the engines running through skill and prayer. When they finally docked at Earth's orbital station, half the ship's systems were offline. Tae-Min stood on the bridge, looking at his crew. They were exhausted, traumatized, but alive. "Well done," he said simply. "You saved billions of lives today." But there was no time to rest. Intelligence reports showed the Empire mobilizing again. The Emperor, enraged by the destruction of his doomsday weapons, was gathering his remaining forces for one final assault. 600 Imperial ships heading toward Earth, Sangwoo reported. They will arrive in 1 week. Chang Min looked at his fleet status. 46 human ships, many damaged, against 600 Imperial vessels. Even with their technological advantage, the numbers were impossible. "We cannot win this," Haijin said quietly. "Even if we fight perfectly, there are too many of them." "Then we make them pay for every meter of space," Chang Min said. "Earth Defense Fleet will engage them as far from our homeworld as possible. We buy time for evacuations." But Tae-Min was not listening. He was staring at a data stream from one of their spy satellites in Imperial space. "Admiral, look at this. Transmissions from inside the Empire. Multiple species. They are rising up against the Kravathians." Everyone turned to look at the data. Across the Empire, subject species who had been slaves for centuries were rebelling. They had seen humanity defeat their oppressors. They had seen the mighty Kravathians lose battle after battle. And they decided it was time to be free. The Empire was collapsing from within. "They are fighting back because we showed them it was possible," Eunmi said softly. "We proved the Empire could be beaten." "That is good for them," Chang Min said. "But it does not help us against 600 ships heading for Earth." Then the communication systems activated. An unknown signal was requesting a channel. G1 opened it carefully. The face on the screen was not human or Kravathian. It was something else entirely. The being spoke in broken English, translated through multiple systems. "Humanity. We are Talvari. We were slaves to the Empire for 800 years. You showed us freedom was possible. We will not let them destroy you. We are coming to help." More signals arrived. Species humanity had never heard of, all announcing the same thing. They were sending ships to defend Earth. For the first time in weeks, Tae-Min felt hope. They were not alone anymore. The Imperial fleet advanced toward Earth like a sword aimed at humanity's heart. 600 warships under the direct command of Emperor Thalkos himself. The ancient ruler had left his throne world for the first time in a century. He would personally oversee the destruction of the species that had humiliated his empire. Behind him, his civilization was burning. Rebellions had erupted on over 100 worlds. Species that had been conquered centuries ago were seizing imperial weapons and turning them against their oppressors. But Thalkos did not care about them. He cared only about making humanity pay. Earth prepared for the end. Admiral Chang Min organized the 46 remaining human warships into a defensive sphere around the planet. It was not enough. Everyone knew it was not enough. But humanity had never surrendered before and would not start now. Captain Tae-Min stood on the bridge of the Indomitable, looking at Earth on his view screen. He had seen a dozen human colonies, but had not been home in 5 years. Now he might die defending it without ever setting foot on the surface again. "Status report," he said quietly. Dong Haiyan's voice came from engineering. "We have patched the worst damage, but this ship should not be flying. Half our systems are held together with improvisation and hope." "That has always been enough before," Tae-Min said with a small smile. Jae-sung checked the tactical display. The alien reinforcements are arriving. 60 ships so far from 7 different species. 60 ships joining their 46. Against 600 Imperial warships, it still was not enough. But it was something. They were not alone. The Talvari arrived first. Their ships were strange, organic-looking vessels that seemed to grow rather than be built. Their commander, a being named Veltara, contacted the Indomitable directly. "Captain Taemin," Veltara said through the translator, "your species fought the Empire with 46 ships and won. We bring 60 more. Together, perhaps we can survive." "Thank you for coming," Taemin said. "But you must understand, many of you will die here." "We know," Veltara replied. "We would rather die free than live as slaves. You taught us that." Other species arrived. The Drex brought long-range missile ships. The Corvani contributed vessels with powerful shields. The Yultari had fast attack craft. Each species brought different strengths, different technologies, different tactics. None of them had coordinated before Sojin looked at the chaotic mix of allied ships and saw a problem. "Captain, these species had never fought together. They used different communication systems, different weapons, different strategies. We cannot coordinate them effectively." "Then we will have to teach them quickly," Taemin said. "Sojin, you have 12 hours to create a unified battle plan using every species' strengths." Sojin spent those 12 hours working with tactical officers from 7 alien species. Most could barely understand each other. Their technologies were incompatible. Their cultures had different ideas about warfare. But slowly, a plan emerged. "The Talvari have excellent shields but weak weapons," Sojin explained to the combined command. "They will form the defensive line. The Drex have powerful missiles but poor maneuverability. They will provide long-range fire support. The human ships are fast and precise. We will strike at critical targets." It was not a perfect plan, but it was better than chaos. The Imperial fleet arrived at Earth's solar system exactly when predicted. 600 warships emerged from faster-than-light travel, filling the space near Neptune's orbit. Emperor Thalkos looked at the defensive fleet with contempt. "Just over 100 ships," he said to his bridge crew. "They cannot seriously expect to stop us." "My Emperor," his tactical officer said nervously, "those are not all human vessels. We are detecting at least 7 other species. Some are former Imperial subjects. Traitors and rebels." Thalkos spat. "We will crush them all together. It will send a message to anyone else who thinks of defying the Empire." The 2 fleets moved toward each other. The distance between them shrank. Weapons powered up. Shields went to maximum. Every crew member on both sides knew this would be the final battle. Admiral Chong Min gave the order. "All ships engage." The Battle of Earth began. The Talvari ships formed a defensive wall, their powerful shields absorbing the initial Imperial barrage. Behind them, the Drex launched waves of missiles that crossed the distance in minutes. The human ships darted forward, using the Talvari shields as cover, then breaking out to strike at Imperial flanks. Emperor Thalkos expected his forces to sweep through the defenders easily. Instead, he watched as his ships struggled against an enemy that fought with unprecedented coordination. Every species in the Allied fleet supported the others. When Talvari shields weakened, human ships drew fire away. When human ships needed cover, Corvani vessels provided it. "This is impossible," Thalkos growled. "These species have never worked together before. How can they coordinate so perfectly?" The answer was Jin Choi. From her station on the Indomitable, she directed the entire Allied fleet. She had spent hours learning each species' capabilities and limitations. Now she used that knowledge to create a fluid, adaptive defense that confused the rigid Imperial tactics. Talvari Squadron 3, strengthen your left flank. Drex missile boats, focus fire on Imperial coordinates 479. Human ships, hit their command vessel. The battle raged for hours. The Imperial fleet's numbers advantage slowly told. Allied ships fell one by one. The Talvari lost 12 vessels. The Drex lost 8. Humanity lost another 9 ships, including 3 of their oldest cruisers, but the Imperials lost more. 200 ships were destroyed or disabled. The Allied fleet made them pay for every meter of space. Te-Min watched the tactical display, looking for any advantage. Haiyan Wu, show me the Imperial flagship. Where is the Emperor? Haiyan Wu highlighted a massive vessel at the center of the Imperial formation. That is his ship, the largest in their fleet. He is commanding the battle personally. Then we end this personally, Te-Min said. Helm, plot an intercept course. Engineering, give me every bit of speed we have left. Captain, Jae-Sung said carefully, that ship is 3 times our size and has 4 times our firepower. I know, but we have something they do not. We have nothing left to lose. The Indomitable broke formation and accelerated toward the Imperial flagship. 5 other human ships followed without being ordered. They had served with Te-Min through every battle. They would not let him face the Emperor alone. Emperor Thalkos saw the human ships coming and smiled coldly. The primitive captain wants a duel. How honorable, and how foolish. All weapons target those ships. The Imperial flagship was indeed massive and powerful. Its weapons could have destroyed a small fleet. But Dong Haiyan had one more trick left. He rerouted every system on the Indomitable into the engines and shields. Life support, communications, sensors, everything. They had 5 minutes of air and 1 chance. The Indomitable dodged through a storm of enemy fire. Plasma bolts that should have destroyed the ship missed by meters. Missiles were shot down by point defense, working beyond its specifications. The small human ship and its 5 companions crossed the distance that should have killed them. Now, Te-Min shouted. All 6 human ships fired every weapon they had left. Railguns, missiles, lasers, even the emergency escape pods loaded with explosives. Everything aimed at one target, the Imperial flagship's reactor. Located near the bridge for symbolic power. Haiyan Wu had calculated the exact weak point. So Jin had targeted it perfectly. Dong Han had given them the power to reach it. The weapon struck home. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the Imperial flagship's reactor containment failed. The explosion was enormous, a miniature sun that briefly outshone everything else in the battle. Emperor Thalkos died without understanding how primitives could have defeated him. With their emperor dead and their flagship destroyed, the Imperial fleet's coordination collapsed. Some ships tried to fight on. Others attempted to flee. Most simply stopped, their crews too shocked to function. Admiral Chung Min saw his chance. All Allied ships, push forward. Make them surrender. The Allied fleet advanced. Not to destroy, but to force capitulation. One by one, Imperial ships lowered their shields and powered down their weapons. The battle was over. Of the 600 Imperial ships that attacked Earth, only 90 survived intact. The Allied fleet had lost 38 ships, with dozens more damaged. Over 15,000 beings had died in the battle. But Earth was safe. Te-Min sat in his command chair, exhausted. The Indomitable had lost power completely. They were floating dead in space, kept alive only by emergency batteries. But they had won. Captain, G1 said weakly, we are receiving surrender transmissions from the Imperial fleet. They are asking for terms. Tell them this, Te-Min said. No more empire. No more slavery. Every species is free to govern itself. We will help rebuild what was destroyed, but only if they agree to peace. The message went out to the Imperial survivors. Some rejected it. Most accepted. After 3,000 years, the Crevathian Empire was finished. In the weeks that followed, the galaxy began to change. 23 species immediately joined Earth in forming something new, the Galactic Accord. It was not an empire. It was a coalition of free peoples who agreed to defend each other and cooperate for mutual benefit. More species joined every day. Former imperial subjects who had won their freedom. Independent civilizations who wanted protection against future tyrants. Even some Crevathians who rejected their old emperor's ways. Captain Tae-min was offered promotion to admiral and a position leading the new Accord Defense Fleet. He declined politely. "I am an explorer, not a conqueror," he told Admiral Chong-min. "Give me a ship and let me go back to what I do best, finding new friends instead of new enemies." The Indomitable was rebuilt and renamed New Horizon. Tae-min's crew volunteered to go with him. They had been through too much together to separate now. Dr. Yoon-mi became humanity's first ambassador to the Galactic Accord. She spent her days helping species understand each other, preventing the kind of misunderstandings that had started the war. Defense Minister Hai-jin led the effort to find and dismantle the remaining doomsday weapons scattered throughout the galaxy. It would take years, but she was determined that no species would ever face extinction by supernova again. Sojin opened a military academy on Earth, teaching officers from dozens of species how to defend themselves. Her first lesson was always the same. Defense is not aggression. Protecting your home is not the same as conquering others. Never forget the difference. Admiral Chong-min retired after seeing the Accord established. He spent his final years writing about the war, making sure future generations understood its lessons. 10 years after the Battle of Earth, the galaxy was unrecognizable. Where once an empire ruled through fear, now dozens of species cooperated freely. Trade routes opened. Cultural exchanges happened. Scientific knowledge was shared. Captain Ji-won Park, formerly the communications officer on the Indomitable, now commanded her own exploration vessel. She was investigating a distant nebula when her sensors detected an unknown signal. "Captain, we are receiving a transmission," her communications officer reported. "It is from a species we have never encountered before." Ji-won smiled, remembering everything she had learned. Before responding, she reviewed the first contact protocols humanity had written after the war. The first rule was simple: listen before you act. Understand before you judge. She opened a channel. "This is Captain Park of the Terran Exploration Service and the Galactic Accord. We come in peace, and we truly mean it. We have made mistakes before, and we learned from them. We hope to learn from you as well." The response came back in an unknown language. G1's translator worked to decode it. When it did, the message was simple. "We have watched you fight. We have watched you rebuild. We would like to talk." And so the conversation began. Humanity had emerged into the galaxy by accident, starting a war through misunderstanding. They had won that war not through cruelty or domination, but through determination and the refusal to surrender. And in winning, they had changed everything. The age of empires was over. The age of cooperation had begun. And somewhere in the darkness between stars, explorers like Captain Park carried a message to every species they met. Humanity offers friendship. We will defend ourselves if we must, but we prefer to build rather than destroy. We will never kneel to tyrants, and we will never become tyrants ourselves. It was a simple message. But in a galaxy that had known only conquest for millennia, it was revolutionary. Captain Tae-min, now exploring the far edge of known space aboard the New Horizon. received regular reports about the growing accord. Over 50 species had joined. Trade was flourishing. Wars between member species had ceased. It was not perfect, but it was better. He thought about that day long ago when he had emerged from faster-than-light travel and encountered the Crevathian Empire. If he had known what would follow, would he have done anything differently? No, because someone had to show the galaxy that tyranny could be defeated. Someone had to prove that small could overcome large through skill and determination. Someone had to demonstrate that peace was possible even after terrible war. Humanity had not asked for that role, but they had fulfilled it anyway, and the galaxy was better for it.